Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and this is my second to last part of my series of my top 10 scenes in film. This is number 2, and this is March of the Ents from Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. And I have to say, every time that I actually see this scene play out while I'm watching The Two Towers, I get goosebumps. It's that impactful to me. And Lord of the Rings, as a whole collective, one film, is my favorite film of all time. Because it really does feel like one film throughout, and it builds and builds and builds up together. It was all shot at the same time. That's a whole other video. But I love Lord of the Rings so much, and what makes this scene so impactful is the emotional heft that you get from this sequence. And there's a lot of build up to this one part, because you get the sense of these Ents, these tree spirits that look like trees, but they're walking, they're tree herders. And throughout this whole entire film, them talking about how they don't get involved, they're just there for the forest, and Merry and Pippin, who are getting their chance to mature in this film and stand up and do something to be a part of this battle against the evils of Sauron, and they get a chance in this moment to try to convince the Ents to fight, and they can't, and no matter what they say, they can't do it. And then Pippin has a thing, it's like, take us by Isengard, and it's just like, some gears are moving in Pippin's head, and he's supposed to be the idiot, and Treebeard, who is actually voiced by John Rhys Davies, who plays Gimli also in Lord of the Rings, I don't think gets enough credit for the great performance he gives as Treebeard, the leader of the Ents. And this moment really sells it, because he's walking, he's talking, they're walking through the forest, and then boom, there's no more forest, but there should be. And then his jaw drops. And just that shot, Andrew Lesnie's cinematography in Lord of the Rings is some of the best cinematography in the history of cinema. And I'll argue anybody on that one. And the fact that he only won for Fellowship of the Ring is BS. How he didn't win for Return of the King. They didn't want to give it a 12th Oscar. But whatever. I digress. But that shot of this beautifully CGI'd creature with just his mouth agape in shock, and the camera flips, we get a cut, and it's a disturbing landscape of just demolished trees. It's silent, and it's just panning across, and that shot is so moving, and you feel, I'm getting chills just thinking about it, you feel the emotion running through his body of the shock and awe of this travesty that has happened. And he's then that sad delivery of, some of those trees were my friends, and John Rhys Davies sells that line so well, and you just feel the sadness in it. And then then that camera pans over and he makes eye contact with Orthanc, the Tower of Sauron, and he grits his teeth, and you feel that rage boiling in him. And it's so great being able to feel that emotion out of a CGI character. And motion caption work has come such a long way, and this was at the beginning. Gollum and like Treebeard, these are some of the first big motion capture performances, and John Rhys Davies sells it like a champ. And he just grits the Sauron, and then he lets out this crazy scream, and the sound work is so interesting because it's some kind of mix of like elephant and stuff like that, and he's just like, oh, this roar. And what I love about it is they cut to the camera flying over these trees, and you hear it echoing throughout all of Fangorn Forest. And then Merry and Pippin are like, what's going on? You hear this rustling and this rumbling, and then Treebeard delivers the lines of like, tonight the Ents march on Isengard, and like all the Ents start pouring out of the forest, and then the score by Howard Shore starts playing, and goosebumps, and them just marching out, and this crazy shot of just all of these large giant beings marching out with this beautiful music across this desolate land of destroyed trees, heading for it, like, stuff's gonna go down. And the whole rest of, like, that alone is one of my favorite moments in all of cinema. And then just building up of them crisscrossing and using a montage of cutting back and forth between the Battle of Helm's Deep and the Ents marching on Isengard, and then cutting back to Osgiliath, where Frodo and Sam and Gollum and Faramir are, but specifically to hone in on this battle at Isengard, the Ents smashing through everything, and the sound editing of all of the sound mixing of their, like, roars, and, like, really using elephant sounds, and it's so interesting and different. And the pure fear and, like, craziness on the face of Christopher Lee as Sauron, until that shot where he looks shocked as hell as he sees them ripping down the dam, and that shot of that water pounding down the mountain, and then all the Ents holding on, and, like, the one on fire jumping into the water and, like, ripping its head up, and them all standing tall together as this water washes away the filth of Sauron. And it's just so powerful between what Peter Jackson's able to do directing this sequence, what Andrew Lesnie's able to do with all of his shots that he does as cinematographer. Howard Shore's score is breathtakingly gorgeous, and John Rhys Davies' performance as Treebeard is so great, and how he delivers those lines. This is such an impactful and moving sequence, and such an amazingly epic, big series of films, this trilogy, and this is what stands out to me the most. If you haven't seen Lord of the Rings, please go check it out. Even if you're not into fantasy and stuff like that, this transcends the fantasy genre, because, like, this is the greatest fantasy film ever created. You heard me. You heard me. But please go check it out, and keep watching, because next week I'm going to get to number 1, and finally this countdown of my top 10 scenes in film will be over. But there will be more coming. I really encourage you. There won't be one immediately, because what I'm going to start getting into then is end of the year kinds of stuff, like my favorite films, my top 10 films. I'll be having my Wasteland Reviewer Awards, 2nd annual. So this is when I make my own nominations. And then I pick my own nominations, have my own picks for what should win. Then I will, once the Oscars come out with their actual nominations, make my Oscar picks as well. But those are some of the important non-film reviews that are going to be coming this way on the Wasteland Reviewer. So please comment, let me know what you think about this little analysis of March of the Ents. And always comment on my videos, let me know what you think. I love talking movies, let's talk some movies, and keep on checking out the Wasteland Reviewer.